are back for another BRUNCH, your Sunday rendezvous, episode number 21 with the hockey coach, local FRENCHY, directly for the beautiful country of Thailand. And we have to go all the way to Ottawa, Ontario to find our co-host, Marko Larabi, back in the house.
I missed you, Coach. Man, it's been a couple weeks. All-Star break.
Yeah.
All the craziness. Glad to be
Yeah,
back.
actually,
Great
you're
to
right.
be
I
back.
think the last time we did it was prior to the All-Star game, and the last week we decided to skip that weekend. We had not much going on. Montoya was vacation, Saint-Siga vacation, whatever they call it.
Jello
and
shots.
then,
Lots of Jello shots.
They come back yesterday on the ice. We won't talk about what happening with them. We have a lot of big other subjects. The trade deadline, we're less of 1 month before the trade deadline. We're going to talk about Montreal Canadian Force and then other situation we can use and a specific player with Habs injury update. And so we have a lot of the continents, Mr. Marko. But before we start, I think we would like to send prayer and thought for what happening at the daycare in Laval and the province of Quebec a couple of days ago. And then every time is a kid children are in the middle of those stuff like that, it's not appropriate. First of all, it's not nice, and it's very touching for the other people, parents, and many of us have been parents before. So very sad day in Laval last week. So I just want to send this sharing with you. Maybe you have something you want to add about this.
Yeah, it's really unthinkable, the tragedy. So, toutes nos pensées à tout le monde. Si vous connaissez quelqu'un à Laval qui était affecté par la tragédie, c'est sûr qu'on pensait à vous. It's a close nation, Habs nation. Lots of, Laval is right suburb of Montreal. So definitely affecting a lot of Habs fans probably. So very, very dark time. So yeah, Coach, we'll try to cheer everybody up. Hopefully, I don't know if you saw St. Louis' press conference yesterday, but hopefully I don't jinx our show because I'm wearing blue today. I'm not wearing white or red. So hopefully the hockey gods will smile upon our show, even though I'm not wearing red, white, and blue today.
Yeah, absolutely right about this. Super Bowl weekend, by the way, Mr.
Yes.
Marko. We are about about 7 hours before the kick-off start between the Eagles and the Chiefs. Just like that, tell us what your prediction of the game.
You know how big of a football fan I am.
Yeah, me too.
But my understanding is the Chiefs are, Mahone. Like, I know enough to know that Mahone is like a generational quarterback, and the Eagles, they've had a good season, but if I had to pick at gunpoint, I guess I would go with the Chiefs just because of they have that winning pedigree, and Mahomes is like a football god.
So I predict Austin Matthews is going to be hurt. So I predict Mahomes is going to have a very difficult time to run today.
Okay.
And I predict the underdog, the Eagles, is going to win by the score 28-24, Mr. Marko, today.
Oh. For a minute, I thought
my knowledge of about football is very good. Don't ask me who they are, but we'll be interested about that. But we have a lot to talk about the Montreal Canadiens, so let's dive in and start with the warm-up show, Mr. Marko. Here we go. We are back for the review of the week, Mr. Marko. But usually we can talk a lot of different games. Like they play usually 2, 3, 4 games per week. But honestly, this week they have only one game. It's happening last night or yesterday afternoon at the Bell Center. It's a weekend Super Bowl, so the Montreal play a back-to-back game. Usually this is a tradition for many years. And they also, yesterday, the New York Islanders, they won by the score 4-3 and overtime. They come back twice in this game and finally tied the game at about a couple of minutes before the end of the third period. Then finally got a score and overtime. It took about, 12 minutes before they decide if it was a good goal or a bad goal. And because it was on the review call for offside. We have to give credit for Mike Hoffman. I know you love a lot Mike Hoffman. The way he controlled the puck with his skate.
That reception, that pass reception was unreal. Yeah.
Honestly, to do that, right? And but at the end of the day, final score Montreal Canadiens 4 and New York Islanders 3. Maybe give us a bit more the resume of what you saw. I know you would check the game yesterday.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I always like Super Bowl weekend is great. Like those back-to-back games, great way to kind of drop back into things. I was definitely missing watching some Habs games. So I think like most people, the Islanders were they've already played 3 games I think since returning from the All-Star break, and they're kind of on a run, right? Like on a high after trading for Bo Horvat, everything kind of clicking on all cylinders. So like most people, I thought again, like the Islanders are not a offensive juggernaut, so I thought it might be a close game, but it kind of worked the opposite way that I thought it was going to work. Like I thought it was going to take a while for Montreal to kind of get their legs under them, just because too many Jello shots, too much sun, over the last 10 days or whatever. But you know what? Like they were right there, step for step with the Islanders right away. Like if I was watching that game, I wouldn't have been able to really tell that they were just coming off a layoff. So pretty good job from St. Louis to get everybody ready, and all the guys were going pretty good. Like I felt like Doc was a bit invisible for the first period and a half. You know, uh, and that line wasn't really going with Hoffman and Dadanoff right away. But right away, this are you down with RHP? Yeah, you know me. Like he jumped right back into things right away with Suzuki and Anderson. Anderson continued his strong play. Really, there's hard to think of a player that didn't really play well. Guy that jumped out to me was Kovacevic had a really strong game, really kind of skating well, jumping up into the play a lot. Jacky had a good game. Jacky playing top pair minutes yesterday, like facing the top line. So listen, a lot of things to like about yesterday. Um, Overall, I think it's a good it's a good continuity from what we saw before the break, even though they didn't have any results over the last couple of games. Remember, coach, all year at the beginning of the year when they were winning, we're like, okay, but it's like empty calories, right? Like enjoy it, fans, but this is not sustainable. This is not real hockey that they're playing here. Like it's just higher shooting percentage than it should be, and goaltending is really what was doing it. But now, finally, I'm starting to feel really good about the team concept, right? Like everybody buying in. Now, does that have to do with the fact that you have a couple of call ups that are really going to like sometimes that's what happens, right? Like you have call ups, and of course they're going to follow the game plan to the letter, right? But you still have players in there like Dadanoff and Hoffman playing pretty substantial minutes, and to the extent that they can, like they're still Hoffman and Dadanoff, but to the extent that they can, they are buying in and playing the way that the team concept. Sandy Louis talks about it as the brand, right? So he wants a certain brand. You could also call it identity, team culture, whatever. But I think what we're seeing, and the most encouraging thing for me, and the two things that I think are going to be the most important moving in here is to continue to establish that brand, so that regardless of which players come in and out, you're going to just put another piece in, and they're going to understand that what the brand of hockey that they want to play. That's really really important moving forward. And then continuing to get some reps in for the young defensemen and all that. So really, I'm looking forward to today's game after that effort. Montembeault was a bit shaky maybe on one goal, but yeah, really solid effort. It was a not the most exciting game, but
Yeah, I think that you're
that's
right. I
hockey.
think it was like a
Yeah,
lot of giveaway park and the exchange park and too much. Yeah, it was not like excited. The hanging there, but it was not like most. I think like I call this a trap game when you come back for vacation or the Geico
oh
All
yeah,
Star game. You see Tampa Bay, Boston, Minnesota. They was not ready. They lost their first game like yesterday. Boston
yeah,
lost 2-1. Tampa Bay lost 7-1 against Florida Panthers, and so I was like a bit caution about what Montreal can do against the New York Islanders. I don't want to make an excuse, but Islanders play what 3 games in the last 4 nights. It's not like
yeah,
but with the boat of that, and then it was the welcome back Romanov yesterday. Really a touch moment for Romanov.
yeah, yeah.
From the bench because he was a little bit
A little
moving his
teary there.
hands
Yeah,
like your shit, but you can see that it was a little bit shocking about the
emotional.
reaction
He
of
was
people,
emotional.
everything
Yeah,
like that. So but it's
Yeah,
nice to see Romanov for that. And they make a good video. The Montreal Canadiens, I saw this after the game online, so pretty
yeah,
good.
yeah.
But again, they find a way to come back, a score, and 2 point. We're going to talk about a little bit later what the 2 point, the value of the 2 point tonight. Yesterday again, the New York Islanders. They played today again at Montreal Oilers. Going to talk about this a bit later. But I want to talk. You mentioned the two names. We can complain a lot about Hoffman, but that enough. But that enough since 2023. That's about like 4 weeks, and maybe at the St. Christmas. That enough, please. Solid hockey from Montreal Canadiens. Maybe he have no goal, but how he
Yeah,
play, he make
yeah.
that line better. They don't give a lot of goal again. They are more on the offensive side. They outshot the opponent line. They play constantly or every game. And I think, I understand he never turned around to be a good asset for Montreal Canadiens. The expectation would be maybe higher, but we have to give credit. And sometimes Marco, look, Huberdeau, not an excuse, but Huberdeau, new location, new place, new team, new coach, new teammates, everything like that. That at the same time, plus his girlfriend, wife, she was pregnant, moved over there. She got a baby last week or 2 weeks ago. So all this stuff like that makes sometimes a player to have some kind of adversity with new language and new look. And you know already that enough is a shy person. I don't want again to constantly tell you
Wow,
that
yeah.
Dadenap is an amazing, great hockey player and everything like that. But put all this together sometime, at Dadenap better on the second line, at Dadenap on the four line. You're going to get a little bit better for any player.
Yeah.
Play, usually to carry out the top six. Not going to produce the same level at the top at the bottom six at the end of the day.
Well,
But I just
in
want
all
to mention
fairness,
this on that one.
yeah. No, no, I listen, you're right. Like you gotta give him credit. Like he's a professional, and that St. Louis said that all along, right? Like he's never doubted his professionalism, even, like when he was being scratched and everything. So I don't doubt that for a minute. Montreal did try to play him like, in the top six. It's not like he didn't get his chance earlier.
Yeah.
So, it's not like you can't say like, oh well, he didn't really produce because he was playing on the fourth line. Like, no, they played him everywhere at all kinds of different points of the year.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
you know, but no, you're right. Like I said, like right now, the team is buying into the concept. Does that have to do maybe with the deadline right around? Let's see what happens if they can
A
retain that after the deadline.
new father and new baby. That's maybe helped me to make smiling
Yeah,
more, everything like that. And Hoffman had what, two
sure.
assists again yesterday?
I think he had 4 points or 3 points.
Oh yeah. So
Yeah,
again, that's only one to maybe could do something could happen to him. But again, we're not
sure.
to be negative or just like they got a W.
No,
That's
yeah,
the most
yeah,
important things
yeah.
about that for the Montreal Canadiens yesterday. I think I have this one here. That's what they are right now. 1-0-0 this week at 21-27-4. The differential is still there. 8 on
Whew.
Atlantic, and now they jump for 27-26. We're going to talk about this a bit later. And like we do usually, we always mention that stood out at the game. Maybe we have only one game, but we can talk a little bit more about this. What player maybe, the 4 star of the game or something like that. You say, you know what, I really like
Yeah.
that player. Me, I have already in my mind, but I just want to see what player you're going to mention to us.
I mentioned Kovacevic earlier, so for sure he stood out. But to me, if we're talking about the 4 star of the game last night, it would be David Sabal for sure. Like 4 minute shift in overtime. I don't know if you saw Martin St. Louis' press
Wait,
conference after the game, but
yeah,
oh my God, that was so, so
he
funny.
said he played 4 minutes, but because of what he said, he can play 4 minutes because of what?
He doesn't move. Sometimes it's not to say that he's not. It's not. I'm not insulting him, but sometimes he doesn't really move out there, right? So, yeah, it was really funny.
Everybody
Like, but
laugh
you
and
could see.
and everybody
Yeah,
laugh
yeah,
inside there. I think he realized after that about 3, 4, 5 seconds he didn't he didn't want to say the same word. He was mean about what he said, but
yeah, yeah.
yeah, he
No, that was pretty
really
good. Yeah, yeah, that was really funny. So, I think, yeah, like really big overtime from Savard there, like a couple huge blocks, and led directly to Matheson being able to break out with Hoffman. And so to me, I think probably he's going to be what's the trophy that goes to the to the most kind of like underappreciated player, like le Trophée Jacques Beauchamp, I think
Yep,
is
yep,
that one,
yep.
right? Like, so I think you can pretty much give that to David Saval this year. You know, he's probably already got it locked out. But yeah, like so to anybody, and you know, interesting little side conversation on that. Like for those of you who think that Sabal is going to get traded, not a chance. Like I think that he's right now a really important piece to that defense core. You listen to Saint Louis talk about how he's almost coaching Jacky when they're playing together, and how valuable it is not only for Jacky to get those top minutes on the top pair right now, but to do it with Saval. You know, he's
You think about this,
coaching him like,
Marco. Look what he did with Caden Cody at the beginning of the year. Who
yeah,
was one of the best
absolutely,
pairing at the beginning of the year? He was again
yeah,
Cody and Saval, right? Now he took
yeah,
about, you just mentioned Jack Kai about this. I predict this week during my we do the show at 9 o'clock p.m. The
mhm,
HNTL tonight show with Montreal Canadian Abs. I mentioned, I think I really believe David Saval is going to be an assistant coach as a defenseman in NHL
yeah,
one day.
yeah, yeah. Maybe even for Montreal. Definitely
Yeah.
lining up that way. Like, so yeah, to me that would be who stood out. Like I got Kovacevic, like the whole decor yesterday. I think you know was really jumping up, and so yeah, that's kind of what stood out to me.
By the way, when you talk about the 4 minute, it was only 2 minutes shy to Jack Hughes, by the way. So just want to mention this about this. But
That
you
was a
have to
crazy start.
realize Montreal Canadiens, we did not talk about this at the beginning. They won 4-3 in overtime, but they just burn a power play for the Islanders before they go to score
Yeah, yeah,
from the. So I just want to sharing that with you about this. And then I
yeah.
want to finishing with. I have two players. I don't know my debate. Maybe you can helping me, and I understand and they maybe not play the best, but I think I have to give credit for that. Is Justin Barron and RHP. The intensity of the RHP provoke he create a lot of opportunities around the net yesterday for Anderson, a backdoor one time. Varlamov make an amazing,
Hmm.
great save on that one just before after the goal of Nick Ski for the great pass of RHP to Nick Ski to tie the game 1-1. I think RHP, he can see very smart. I think he impressed me. We watched with Laval Rocket, right? But I think when he played better what my expectation was for him. He's really a really good hockey player overall on the three zone. He
C'est
really
un joueur de
realized two
hockey.
big block shot yesterday. Yesterday, so I will have to go with him. But I want to credit to Justin Byron, not the same player we thought he's going to be.
No,
Maybe later we can talk about the is it benefit sometime to go to American Hockey League for months, maybe a year, and some is maybe not there anymore. You can go straight to the NHL. But I just want to mention two names. I don't know if you agree with me for what I just said.
yeah. For Hervé Pinard, excuse me. Yeah, like you know, I think Saint Louis, like the biggest compliment that he can pay one of his players right now is when he says he's a hockey player, right? He's not a guy who plays hockey. He's a hockey player. He said that about Jack Eye. He said that about a couple of guys, and it's almost kind of like a unofficial stamp of approval from Saint Louis, saying that you're a hockey player, right? So huge, compliment from Saint Louis in that regard. I agree, Coach. Like, you know, there are some players that just tend to perform better in the NHL than they do in the AHL. Because guess what? The other players are better. That's you know, like he's a complementary player, right? So he needs to play with good players because he does all the little things well, and good players will know how to benefit from a player like that. So if you're playing with players that don't have the same hockey IQ, then they won't be able to take advantage of all the you know gutsy and kind of like pressure plays that he does. So can he maintain an almost point per game production? Let's not kind of put that pressure on him right now. You know, he's a really you know really kind of riding the momentum and really trying to win a spot in the NHL full time. So good for him. Like really great story. So
Yep.
let's continue. And Baron, like Baron, same thing, right? Like you remember early in the year, I definitely didn't feel he was ready. We had him kind of penciled in the top four. a lot of people did in the summer, and seeing him in preseason, even at the end of last season, like he scored a nice goal, but I could just see that he wasn't ready. He wasn't reading the play. He wasn't stable on his skates. Looked a little lost out there. But I think he's just really trying to keep it a little bit more simple. And he's a confident guy, right? He's a proud guy. So yeah, it's an interesting case study, right? There's not one right or wrong path for a player. It's really depending on the type of player. So for him, obviously, it was beneficial. Maybe it's just the pressure of making the team this fall, right? It was just maybe a little too much for him, right? So good for him. Went back and put in the work, and right now he's playing really well.
And we could talk also Armand 3 assists, but Mike Madison the winning goal winning game, and I think overall Mike Madison have a great game. But we have to move on with ab injury update. We don't have a lot, and because we don't
Yeah.
know, and I don't know what you
No.
feel about this. I talk about my ab show this week. Why the Montreal are not still continues not to talk about the players with injury. We don't know Edmondson, we don't know Monahan, we don't know with Armia. They report next week and 2 weeks, and then the next week, and we see. And I don't know why they don't go deep about okay, Monahan have this, Monahan we expect him next week, return that, and they just not want to give any more information about this.
Coach, we know more about the Chinese spy balloon than we know about Monahan's injury. I don't get it either. Like it doesn't make any sense to me. um, just look at what Arizona did yesterday. They sit out Chikrin for trade reasons. That's they actually said for trade reasons. I like that. Like I want teams to be more transparent. I get it. Like you were mentioning yesterday, right? Like, of course, we know in the playoffs it's a whole
Yeah,
different kettle of fish.
exactly.
Like it's not you're not going to give away any tactical
That's
advantage during the
okay.
playoffs. Yeah, and that we totally understand that. But this is not that, and you know, I just don't see that there's a strategic advantage. Teams are going to know what's going on with him. Like what are you gonna like? You're just kind of being secretive about what injury he has, so that you can maybe trade him. Well, the medical staff of the team is going to be able to evaluate him. And we had this debate, I think, a couple weeks ago. I don't think it's. I think a lot of people put a lot of weight into whether a player can actually play before the deadline, so that the team can see him play. I don't believe people know Sean Monahan, like, and people and teams will have medical professionals that can, if they're going to trade for him, they're going to put every medical probe up his body that you can think of before they fork over the assets for him, right? So I don't understand what's the big secret here. Like,
Yep.
it's to me like when I I guess in Montreal we all have that emotional scarring from Carey Price, right? Like that's probably the worst case of that we've seen here. Like that one season, right, where it's just complete shell game all season about whether he was going to come back or not. It was even like that a little bit last year with Carey Price. So I think in Montreal we're a little bit more sensitive about that because of what we went through with Carey Price and his injuries and Weber and all that stuff. So here, there's no insurance at play. Like I just don't understand. So
Yep.
you know, I don't know what. Like I guess I was joking yesterday. Does Pierre Gauthier still secretly work for the Montreal Canadiens PR department that we don't know about? Like I just don't understand why.
Yeah, for the update, we only know Jonathan Drouin came back this weekend. He was the only one. Armia skate alone, and Munson Emmanuel skate alone last week. And then they have to see this week what happening for them. Armia maybe close to come back, and Monahan and Munson will see because they are two big assets if you have any trade from the Montreal Canadiens
Yeah,
for sure about this.
Gouli was kind of skating around too, which is kind of
He's
good.
starting to do a edge work power skating slowly.
Yeah,
You still believe he's going to be at the first week in March for his schedule to
that's great.
return for the Montreal Canadiens. So he's still there. Inside hedge, we see the video about him, but you're absolutely right. So
Yeah,
It is what it is. Well, we have a couple of news we want to talk. I have some topics I want to share with you today. First of all, Jordan Harris got an extension for a 2 years contract by the Montreal Canadiens. 2 years at $2.8 million total at 1.4 AAV for Harris. Maybe a couple of comments. We talked about this earlier on my other show, but little bit surprised it's happening now. Usually a player like him, RFA, second contract, no rush to wait until the summer. But looked like they expected why not to do it right away. And then it looked like he was happy. And then the Montreal are happy about Jordan Harris since the beginning of the season. Maybe give us a little bit what you think about that contract and what the performance of Harris in the beginning of the season.
I think it's a good deal. Like this makes me question a little bit. Maybe behind the scenes, convincing him to come to Montreal. He hasn't missed a lot of games this year. Like, was there kind of a gentleman's agreement on some of these things? Maybe, but you're right. Like, it seems like he's getting, I won't say preferential treatment, but they're certainly prioritizing him and dealing with his cases pretty quickly. To me, like, Harris has played good. Like, he's been very steady. I think his upside is a little bit more limited than I thought it would be. Like I don't really see him being a top four defenseman so far. I think he might be a very, very serviceable, like really high end guy that can come in and play like as a number four. But I don't think you're in good shape if he's your number four for the next 8 years, right? So I think this is a good, kind of show me thing, like kind of like what they did with Primo with his contract, right? Like so, same kind of philosophy there. So listen, Harris, like he's really steady out there. Doesn't really wow you in any particular category. Um, Once in a while, like I thought there would be a little bit more vision and creativity to his game. Maybe that will creep in a little bit, like we've talked about with Slavkovsky. Like once the game slows down for him a bit more, maybe he starts to see different things out there for him that he just doesn't see right now. So I'm okay with this deal. Like I think it's a good, safe deal. It gives them the opportunity to evaluate him, a bit more. But let's keep an eye on Kent Hughes and Gordon and how they. I don't want to start like a culture war or anything, but are they really prioritizing? Do they love those New England players, right? Like and the players that they have, these NCAA players that they have this history with, right? Like I think as Habs fans, it's great that they have that network in the NCAA and in Boston and New England. It's great. Like you want, if you have those relationships and you have that insider knowledge about certain things, for sure use it. But I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I guess in the back of my mind, I'm a little concerned that they're going to be a little too biased towards that market, right? So, like in the past, Timmins would always seem to draft American players from. Do you hear that? Is that coming from you? Is that a
I don't know.
Thailand sound
I
over
was
here?
not sure it was me or you.
No, no, it was. I don't think it was me. But it
So
sounded.
it's happened
Maybe that's
sometime
another.
here. I never moved. I
Okay,
still in the 31 floor. You just picked me up with the fire department from the top.
okay. Another. Just check outside. There's not a spy balloon outside of your window there.
Yeah, I
But
know about
yeah,
that one over there, but you're also right. I think like we talk about 1.4, Sandin did the same thing. Toronto Maple Leaf got that one. I like the fact he said he's maybe not four. I think he's really a number five. If you have the right setup defenseman on your team, I think he's a third pairing defenseman. And I was thinking about Kulak at some point. Kulak a bit bigger, 6'2", versus Aris. But
yeah,
Aris, I think overall is
yeah,
better, a smarter hockey player. His IQ is very good. And Martin Saint Louis, we follow Martin Saint Louis a lot. He always talk about the ceiling and the floor, right? He said we don't know yet the ceiling of Aris, but we know the floor is getting better and
yeah,
better every time. So um,
yeah,
then I'm going to talk a little bit, not today, but the NSA, the path now is getting a little bit more different. Like we don't have to go in American Hockey League anymore like it was in the past. I'm going to mention different players and NHL during the week, but yeah, so right. Great contract for Jordan Harris. This year, 1 goal, 10 assists, 11.47 game, -6. Then during his career, he has 57 game or 58 with it today. 2 goal, 10 assists, and -3 for Janet
but here's
for
here's an
the
interesting question, Coach. Here's an interesting question though. If Jordan Harris gets 2 years at 1.4, what's Jacky worth with what he brings? Right?
I think it's going to be about that area.
I don't know. I don't know. Like I think he to me, Jacky brings a little bit like his ceiling. I think is higher, not just in terms of his play, but like the intangible things that he brings. So I think his worth on the market might be a bit higher.
Now, the difference I
Um,
would said to you is he still have 2 more years to go, right? So it's
yeah.
like I will change my answer because now he's going to be 24, uh, turn 24 when he gets second contract in NHL, and after 3 years compared to Harris, it's different, right? Because Harris have only a 57 game in NHL, and maybe Jacka would be have almost like 150, 200 game in NHL. So it makes sense.
Are
Like
you
we
sure
don't
though? Like
really know in 3 years.
doesn't Jack Eyes he's still on his ELC right now too, isn't he? He's not like he signed his ELC when he signed as a free agent. So he's going to come up as a RFA as well too, right?
No,
After next year.
he got a ELC like anybody else, whatever you draft or not draft. So he started this
Okay.
year, his first year. He signed 3 years, if I can recall it, but I'm pretty sure. So he's going to be 24 when he's going to get a bridge contract before he turned 26, 27. He's UFA. So yeah, he's going to be better at risk, honestly, because it's not the same compare. We can go that way because of age. But
Yeah.
great
Yeah.
question. How much he can get with that time over there. Let's move on with our other subject. Just let you know, we just crossed the half of the show,
Whoa.
Mr. Marco,
I
and we
talk
have
too much.
I have
I
a
talk
couple
too
of things you do not know I want to bring to you.
Ooh.
But kids go to school to have some homework in the evening. Now, Ken Hughes been to a manager for the last at the beginning of 2022, 2023 with some kind of months. Now he's at the homework to do for the month of the February. That's what happening for him last year with Ben Chariot 240 and Kulak and Lekonen. Now he had possibility to make some trades, some big splash or not big splash. I just want to turn around, not say what you like specific thing, but more like overall. What do you think about what it will be the move of Ken Hughes? So your expectation right around? It's not we don't know yet, but thinking Edmondson and Edmondson is healthy. Does it make sense? So because we don't know, but we believe they're going to be healthy. So turn around, give us a little bit what you expect, and we're going to have a good conversation about that.
Okay. So if I was assigning Hughes homework, I would first of all, I hope that he has a Hughes deadline, like a huge deadline, and tries to tries to, like you said, take advantage of some of those assets. So number one on the list, and first of all, the homework that he had last year, it was kindergarten. So if we were talking school, like using the example of school, last year was kind of kindergarten, right? Because those are kind of easy
Right now
trades,
he's
right?
at high school this year.
I don't know, like okay, let's call it. He was in elementary school last year.
Yeah,
Pretty easy trades. Toffoli, Sherrod, like those are
yeah,
pretty easy
I
deals. A
agree.
lot of value in those players, right? So now, okay, so now you're in high school. You're a junior in high school. Algebra, like you're starting to do some more complicated things, right? So homework's a little bit more complicated. So some of the tasks and homework that I'm giving him, which I talked about all year at the beginning of the year, and he hasn't. He's been procrastinating on this one. Like he better not come back and say that the dog ate his homework on this one. Got to clear out some of those contracts, right? Like, like we know the ones that are ending at the end of the year don't matter. Dwayne, Dadanoff, those guys don't really matter because they're not going to be there next year. Well, maybe they signed Dwayne to a very low deal, but we know Dadanoff's not coming back. But the real homework is Armia, Hoffman. Okay, so can you clear some of that cap space to allow some roster spots, yes, for the end of this year, but also for next year to hopefully bring in some of these players? To me, that is the hardest homework that he has. I know you disagree with me, but
Yes,
and then also,
because he don't have to right now. They have only 1 more year to go next season, Armia and Hoffman, and they already open up $20 million. So they don't pushing right away.
but it's not the money though that I'm worried about. It's the roster spots that I want for players that are going to be coming up next year, right? So we have
But
Heineman that
again,
we'd like to play more next year.
Marco, my risk, the risk, we cannot add 3, 4 rookie anymore. We cannot go that direction. It's too much. You
I,
cannot have like 3 rookies every year to
on
add on that organization.
Yeah, but so Heineman is going to be like what, 21? So he's not like, an 18-year-old kid, right? That's coming up. Like you're going to want that roster spot for him.
Which
It's
one?
not like we're Heineman.
Animan is only be 23 years old.
Yeah, yeah. So you need a roster spot for him, right? Like you have to see
But I'm
kind
not
of what
guaranteed he's
he's
going
going
to
to
make
do.
it.
Maybe, I guess but you want the opportunity for him if
But
he,
yeah, so
again, you want,
that one of them, you can call Eneman, Allonen, whatever you want to call it. That would be maybe one over there. But I think our HP is going to be his spot.
yeah. So yeah, that's another spot. Like, and then you have to fill Danoff's spot. He's not going to be there. You have to fill out Dwayne's roster spot, so,
So that's
and
my
again, like
point. Like they don't. That's my point. Like they don't have to open up more spot for Armia and Hoffman if they want to wait one more year and a little bit wait for next season.
you honestly really, really want Hoffman around for a whole other year. Yeah, I just can't see it.
Until trade
I just
deadline,
can't
I
see it.
have no problem. The hockey he give to us right now, I think I'm okay right now.
No,
Like
I
three
don't know if I
point
can take it.
yesterday, you check prior to the All Star game. He really he really used very properly. Why? Because now he play on the top six. He play power play unit number one. You really recognize the Mike Hoffman he did during his career. When you have the player coming back, the Sakoski, the Caulfield, everybody, and that's what you put him down. That's what you get the Mike Hoffman you saw at the beginning of the season.
Agree to disagree on that one. So to me, that would be one for me. Absolutely, that would be homework that I'd be assigning him is if you can clear out some space, not just for cap, but
Oh, I
to
don't
allow
want
some
to.
spots.
I want to be sure, but said they have to keep him, right? I just said they don't have to trade him.
No,
Absolutely,
no,
that's the difference between.
but no, no, for sure. So, but for me,
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
make it a priority, But and then the second priority, as we know, is trying to find at least one more first round pick by not all means necessary, like but certainly that is the top priority, right? Is to try to get one more first round pick this year. That is a huge one, and I think you know, as a third piece of homework is just continue the plan, right? The plan is what I liked about the plan so far is because it's Montreal, I'm not sure we're going to see the same level of patience that we've seen this year with the fan base. And I'm not saying all the fan base is patient, but overall the fan base has been pretty patient and pretty understanding this year. Maybe we have one more year where we have faith like that in the management team. So you can see that, like the Doc move, for example, flipping an asset so that you can get a young player that's ready to to have an impact versus a draft pick. They're definitely going to continue to prioritize that, and I love that, right? Because we love the draft, but there's a lot of uncertainty for the draft, right? Like it is really projecting an asset versus somebody like Doc that you have a body of work to evaluate and everything else, right? So I think that would be another piece of homework is continue your strategy of flipping assets to not like if you can get a first round pick, great. But I'm just as good, maybe even better, if you can get a good young player where you have the need, like a right hand defenseman. And as we're going to continue to talk about a top goaltender prospect would be right there as well.
All right. I'm not going to jump on the homework because I'm going to ask a question. Which player right now they can trade to get a first round pick?
I think they're really like if I had to bet money right now, the top person that they could have to do that would be Anderson. Obviously they've reported that they've had an offer for a first round pick, but so they're looking for more than that. So if I had to bet money, he would be the guy that I would be confident they could get a first round pick for. Outside
So, do
shot
you
would
get a
be
first round pick for the Devils with Schmidt, the goaltender?
I wouldn't do Schmid. I I don't view him like I think he's a decent goaltender, but I don't view him as like a blue chip goaltending prospect, and that's really what I think they need. I don't want them like it can be boom or bust with a goalie like that. So I would rather wait. We don't need somebody to just come in and play, fill the pads over the next year or two. I
Do
want a
you
blue
believe
chip
Schmidt
prospect,
is better to Montembeau?
marginally, marginally,
You talk about
not
a
enough to be
goaltender
a
only
number.
22 years old.
Yeah, yeah, I could be wrong. Again, like we've talked about,
I
I've
don't say
joked around
like
before.
I want to. I don't want to like he's a great goaltender. I just said like if you have to add a first round pick and you thrown out your 4 years $5.5 million go to the down on the Thunder, but now you get a goaltender like Nicoda or Schmidt at 22 years old, and you can get a B prospect with that, no matter, or a third round pick with. I will do it.
You know, uh, I feel like there's better goaltender prospects out there that I would rather
But you
focus
don't
my
targeting the
resources on.
goaltender. You're targeting right now a first round pick in return with Josh
I
Anderson.
would probably just for that return, to be honest, I would keep Anderson. I would rather keep Anderson than do a number one in Dawes personally. I feel I've had my doubts before on
If you want a
whether
good
Saint.
goaltender, I would tell you try Caden Cooley or Owen Beck.
I don't think so. Like I know you've said that before, but I don't think I think for a team that has I'm not saying that Minnesota would trade Wallstat, right? Because they don't have
But if they
a
trade
bunch of.
Wallstead, which player you trade for the Montreal Canadiens in return for Wallstead?
But so for sure, if we were talking about that, then I would agree with you. Would have to take one of our blue chip prospects to get it done.
You have
That's
five
not
of
who I'm
them:
suggesting.
Mailloux, Hudson, Cooley, Beck, Mézard.
Yeah, I
That
would definitely
yeah,
trade
quick in my head, like right
if
now. I maybe
Minnesota.
miss one, but that would be the
Yeah,
cost of any goaltender. Where Wallstead, Koza, Wolf, and Askarov for the Nashville Predator. They are right now the next future goaltender in NHL.
yeah. There's certain clubs though that have a little bit more depth, right? Like Buffalo is definitely one of them. Like if you
But they
can
don't
make a
have good
play for
goaltender
Levi,
there. If there's not better to Schmidt over there.
yeah. But listen, if you told me that I could trade Mazar and package him with something to get a blue chip goaltending prospect, I do that right away. There's no question. I'm not a
Yeah, Meza was my
huge
last
believer
of
in
my
Mazar.
five players right there. But we said Logan
Yeah,
Mailloux plus Riley Kipney for Wallstead.
I would do Farrell and you know Mazar and plus or something like that. But again, is Minnesota? If you're looking at a team like that, or if they're going to need entry level contracts, right? Because they're still in salary cap hell, right? So they need some talented bodies to come in that are going to be on ELCs. So maybe that again, I don't have the
I don't think
solution
so. They will
necessarily,
trade
but
anyway. It's really rare you're going to trade your goaltender like that. They have no purpose behind that.
what I would look for is a team that has not an abundance of goaltender prospects, but somebody like let's say the Rangers last year, right? So you have Shesterkin, you know that he's going to be locked in for a while, and then you have Gorgiev that's there. He's not a blue chip prospect, right? But I think I would probably rank Georgiev above Schmid, right? So situation like that, right, where
Yeah,
you
but this
have
is another
a
this another thing. You can give for him a second round pick or something like that. You don't have to
yeah,
spend a Lane Hudson for get go Georgiev.
no, but I would like to ideally somebody a little bit more promising than Gorgiev for sure. But to me, that would be the homework. Like I would definitely try to focus on getting. When I say blue chip, that would be a dream. It doesn't have to be blue chip necessarily, but a really strong promise. Like Devon Levi is somebody that I would absolutely target
I will not
for
touch
sure.
Steven Levi at all.
Why?
6 foot, play not Eastern, not
Yeah,
impressive too much. I would not. It's another 7 round draft pick like Caden Primo, and I
yeah.
would not. I would not to go that
Are you
direction
okay
with
with
him.
So you're okay with Wolf that's 6
I
foot, but
would
you don't
take
like
before him. I preferred Jacob Dobes. We have one already right now with Ohio State 6'4", 6'5".
you're a size queen. You're like scouts are so like the goaltending scouts are won't even look at players or goalies that are under 6'2" now,
Because
right? So
they cannot perform in NHL.
I don't know about that. Like, Coach, we've talked about this all year. Maybe we do it this summer. We should do a show on this. Like the top end goaltenders as a species are becoming
But yeah,
extinct, right?
you're
Like
always going to come with one or two, right? But if you look
Mhm.
about the 64 goaltender NHL, I will be honest with
Yeah,
you. I'm pretty sure 55 of them are 6'2" and more.
yeah. But what I'm suggesting is in the future we're going to move more towards a pairing lead, right? Like we're going to go with duos more so than a player that's going to play like 60 games, right? So if you're going to be, it's just a numbers game. It's just math. If you're going to have less number one goalies, you're just going to need to have more NHL quality goalies that can play, right? So to me, there's not enough talent of people that size that can play at that level that NHL teams are going to start to think outside the box and go for more athletic goalies that can play a different style. So I think it's going to change. I think in my view, in the next 5 years, NHL teams are going to start looking at goalies in a different way.
It's just like for many years, the domination goaltender in NHL was great with Bradar, Luango, and Price, everything like that. You don't have anymore. I think the players are better, smarter, and if you think about this, Marco, you know hockey for like everybody here, but check the four line for every team right now and check like 10 years ago or 8 years ago, the four line we have in the past. That's not the same. The four line this year, the last couple of years are so much better, talented, speed, and compared it was in the past. And that's make a goaltender a little bit difficult because it's like a wave. First line, second line. Third line would be in the past, so you say, okay, it's not too bad. The four line will be okay, it's no big deal. Now you cannot say the four line can score a goal like anybody. He can get that all over your
And
shoulder.
that's a
And,
factor. That's a factor. But there's a lot of other factors too, right? Like
oh yeah, yeah.
we
I
should
just
on
mentioned like
yeah.
the skill of the player are so much better today it was in the past. I think took advantage over the goaltender overall. It's one of the
But
reasons.
the
Yeah, we
goaltending
can go
style,
deeper, but I just want to share it with
yeah,
that part. But
yeah.
yeah,
The
great.
goaltending
The
style
great
though is
subject. I think a subject you can bring a lot
yeah,
about this for sure.
yeah. This summer we should do a deep dive on that for sure.
I skip a lot because we're only 15 minutes. This show could be for 2 hours because I maybe during the week we can come back with the show for Montreal Canadian at 9 o'clock p.m. But here's what I have yesterday, and it's getting a bit more great conversation. Montreal Canadian won yesterday 4-3. Half of the people in the chat are happy, and some of them are we win, but we should lose. So go deeper. Why are feeling that way with it, and why the reason right now it's not good sign, or is it a good sign? And Montreal win yesterday. It's not matter they can win. Is it the culture more important? Is it the ranking is more important? Is it the NHL draft pick is coming very soon is more important? Give me your assessment about this. I will give you my debate with you after that. And we don't know. We
Sure.
did never talk about the show before. What I'm coming to an
Yeah.
ID. So I don't know your answer yet. So I'm going to follow you after that.
All right. All right. Well, I think Kent Hughes said it best, right? Like it's okay to win, but not too much, and it's okay to lose, but not too much, right? So I think that sums it up perfectly. Like we talked about on the top, right? Like at the beginning of the year, they were winning and they were not really playing the right way, not learning, like not learning how to play the right way. To me, that was almost the worst case scenario, right? Because it's empty calories, you know? So right now, yes, everybody wants us to have a really strong pick in the draft. There's no question about that. And it's always going to be kind of some give and take there. But I'm very much focused on them developing that brand and establishing that culture so that they can continue to play like they have. But if you look at the record over the last 5 games, what they're like 1-3-1 or something like they're still losing, right? But they're in every game. They're playing the right way. So as long as it stays like that, I think we'll be fine. I think we'll continue to progress. We'll continue to lose, especially if there's more injuries and like you never know what happens on that front. So to me, that's the advice. I get it. It's very much like a Jekyll and Hyde kind of feeling. If they string together 5-6 wins and Saint Louis is like, like you've said before, is coaching to win and like not playing young players, like that's a totally different conversation, right? Like, so as long as they stick to the plan, which is to continue to give reps to the young players and create this identity that's going to help us for the future, I'm okay with not losing 90% of our games. I don't think that's good, just to lose. Like if you look at Chicago right now, not only is it not fun to watch, but any players, there's not a lot of players that are going to be there in the future in Chicago, so I guess it doesn't really matter. But we're not in a position like that. We have at least 6 players on our roster, at least, that the team is planning to build around. So it's not like if you if you're like, you know what, let's use a war example. We don't really care for this year, so we're just going to drop a nuclear bomb on it. Okay, well, it's going to wipe everything out. It's going to be nice and easy, but I hope you don't plan to be there for the next 40 years because it's going to be full of nuclear energy and you can't go there anymore, right? So we don't want to nuke it, right? Because we have people that are living there and we want them to be able to be in a healthy environment. I know it's not the best metaphor, but I think you understand what I mean. I don't know why I just brought up nuclear war on a hockey podcast, but we'll move on from there. Too many balloons.
Um, before we show, I prepared the topic, so I think a lot about the win and the lose yesterday, and then here's my point about that. I understand the team culture of Martin Saint Louis, and I think he want to win, and he want to win every time. You can see he was happy after the game, every time like that. But at the end of the day, this is not a good sign for the Montreal Canadiens at the same time, because if you cannot pick in the top 4, you're in the trouble. That's simple. And not going to be a great hockey player, a hockey team in the NHL in the future. That's simple. You have to finish. You have to pick top 4. If you have an
But
opportunity to
there's
do
no
it, it's
guarantee.
this year, because
There's no guarantee though. Even if you finish even if you finish fifth, you can still get bumped down, right? Really, the
yeah,
only way to
you
get
can go
guarantees is if you're
7
bottom
max.
three.
If you go, you can go top 1, 2, 3, 4 if you finish number 5, right?
Yeah.
But here's the behind that idea. I said that between 5 to 12, I would say, Marco, pick any. It's not matter. You pick 5 or 12. If it's not matter, you pick 9 or 5. They're all equal. The players. They're all second line player like Sarkowski. They're all there. And they are second pairing NHL defensemen. So you pick 7, 9, or 8. It's not a big deal. If you don't pick at the top 1, 2, 3, 4, you're never going to have Montreal a first line player in the draft and the back-to-back year. You're going to get a solid, good second line players, but you're not going
Yeah.
to have.
Listen, like
If you think about, I will go per team example: Florida, Barkov; Colorado, McKinnon; Edmonton, McDavid. You can go with Toronto, Hughes. And you know what I'm talking about, right? A franchise players. But if we don't
yeah,
get there at 1 to 4, we're not going to get one of them. And we're going to get again
yeah.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we're going to have 2 good players this year, but not a player can carry on you for years to make that team better at the end of the next 5, 6, 7 years. And look about Detroit.
Yep.
They don't have those kind of players, Detroit. Look about Ottawa. They have one, Tim Souza. He's coming very soon. Buffalo, they got, I understand, Tate Thompson. They are Remus Dallin. I think that's Red Dallin. I can consider him the top best in the future 5. But Montreal, we don't have those kind of players, unfortunately. I don't want to
I
be
get it, but
negative, but I don't say we have to
no.
think. But yesterday, why not to let play my 4 line Pitlick with Belzile 14 minutes? I went out to sit Suzuki play 18 minutes. That
But I
change
don't
what?
think he was. I get it, but like I don't. So there, there are extremes that that Saint Louis could go to coach to win. I don't think he did that yesterday. Like I don't have the minutes in front of me, but the fourth line could have gotten maybe a little bit more minutes, right? But
They have played 9 minutes
overall,
yesterday.
yeah, like that's not terrible. Yeah,
But
like I
if you
don't think
think
he
about the
was.
rest of the line, they play every one of them 16 minutes and more. You have 5 6 minutes difference between the four line and the third line, the second line, and the one line. He did very well on the management on most of the second line, third line. They play and most 16 is rare. But
Yeah,
again, I don't want to mean negative. I know you know hockey, so you know what I'm talking about, right? That generation. I don't say you have Bedard, but Fenteli and Carlson and Mitchkov, we don't have those kind of players in Montreal. No close. No close.
what I would tell you, this is not a new debate, right? Like, so basically, we're having the debate is there's more than one way to win. So yes, the majority of teams that have won championships or had what you can quote unquote call a dynasty, like had 2 to 3 cup wins, whether it's Pittsburgh, LA. Well, LA, I guess they had Doughty and Kopitar was picked number 5, but not really. Doughty wasn't really supposed to be a generational player. I think he was picked third,
Or you
right?
get
So
Tampa, Edmund Stanko's, right?
yeah, yeah.
Pittsburgh,
So
Malkin,
again,
Crosby.
yeah,
And
but
if you look
there's other
about New
teams that
Jersey, it's coming soon, right? Who they have? They have Urshire and they have Jack Hughes over there too.
yeah, but you have some teams like Boston, that don't have never had a player like that. So, and we know Montreal, the management team is very much modeling the organization around Boston. So Boston is the total opposite way. They've built a team around creating, a deep team that doesn't have like, Pasternak is going to change that. But again, he wasn't supposed to. He wasn't drafted as a generational player either. He's just developed that way. So there's other ways to do it. St. Louis is another example of a team that won a cup with not without kind of tanking and doing it that way. Like Carolina is arguably a team like that could win, that is favored to win, that hasn't done it that way either. So there's other ways to win. If we're so proud of the development staff that we have in Montreal, then listen, do is it the easier way to do it? Like, to get Bedard or get Fantilli? To me, Mitchkov, Fantilli, and Bedard are really the three ones that are there. I'm not sure that any of the other players. I think there's a step below after those three.
Or
That's my
Carlson,
opinion.
you have to put Carlson with them.
I wouldn't put him there at all. Not at all. But again, that's a whole other debate, right? But yes, would I love to be able to draft one of those three players? No question. But it's not the end of the world. Like there's no way that you can't plan it. Like there's only so much that you can do to manage it. And Montreal is different from Arizona and Chicago right now because we're ahead of those guys. Like we have a core group of good prospects that are playing in the NHL right now. It's like Arizona, you don't really have like other than Gunter, what young prospects do they have playing for them? Nobody.
Well, right now they don't have,
You know,
they are
and
all in CAA and they play in the Korean, but they have a lot of good prospect Arizona with Logan
yeah,
Coley, one of them.
yeah, yeah. I'm not saying they don't have good prospects, but Montreal is different
But
because
if
they're
they
actually
get
playing in the
Bedard,
NHL.
if they get Mishkov and they get Fentany, already they jumper over Montreal Canadian.
Sure. Like if you're looking at just in terms of the prospect pool, you're probably right, right? But I'm
Like
saying
if one of them
what is Ken Hughes
go to
supposed to do?
Columbus Blue
What
Jacket,
is Ken Hughes?
Blue Jacket
Yeah.
already better player at Montreal Canadian.
Yeah, like so let's differentiate something. You're talking about prospect pools, right? So I agree. But I just don't know what people expect Ken Hughes to do because, yes, the overall prospect pool for those teams might be better than Montreal right now, and it certainly will be even better if they're able to draft one of those three players. But what do you expect him to do right now? He's already the existing roster that he has. if
Oh
you
no, I
eliminate
was talking
players that
about like management the time, right? Yeah, you have a way to losing game without do
only to a
anything.
certain extent,
Yeah, but last night
goaltending is
you
really
put your four line play like regular.
yeah.
But again, they prefer to win. Martin said we prefer to win, protect the veteran and the top line. So you know what? We need W. Again,
But
it's just for
you can't
me.
do
It's
that
just
though. You've
another
talked
way
about
to
that,
mention the
coach.
people where if you don't get a dimensional player like them, Montreal is going to be a really difficult time. It's like, remember like Vancouver, Montreal, Canadiens for a year, they finished 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 14, 15, 17 to 20. What you get? You always draft in the middle of the pack. Your middle draft at 20, 24, 25, 20, 17, 18. And you cannot build a team around that constantly.
But
Constantly.
Tampa is, the reason that they won their championships are the players that they draft in the second round, right? Like it's really drafting a Kucherov,
Yeah, but they
drafting,
got who?
those kinds of
They got
players.
Vasilevsky, right? They
Yeah.
got Edmund and they got Senkos. Now, Senkos and Edmund are the top three, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Vasilevsky number
Yeah.
19, right? I understand
Yeah.
that. I just feel like,
Kucherov was a second round pick.
oh yeah, I just feel if you don't have those kind of players, Marco, it's going to be harder. That's my point behind that.
Yeah. But you've said it before, coach, too. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, can they create an environment where, you know, they're not like prioritizing winning? But you said before, right? Like, so you lose your team, right? Like if you're tied or one with you're behind by one goal, like okay, like Pitlick and Pizzetta and those guys, like they didn't play a bad game yesterday, but they weren't going. Like there's a couple games when Javier Pinal was playing with them, they were the best line. So if there's a dynamic like that during a game and they're the best line on the ice, absolutely. Like then you can go ahead and play them even more in the third period behind by one goal because you're not going to lose your team because you have a justification for it. But yesterday, like the Suzuki line is going, Doc line starts to go a little bit, and Dwayne and Dvorak were playing okay. So I think you lose your team, right? Like if you don't at least kind of and don't forget, like you can't just look at the minutes played. Like you have to look at the specialty teams and the impact that has on the overall minutes. I have no problem with how St. Louis managed his bench last night. I've been critical of how he's done it in the past. I have no problem with how he did it.
Oh yeah,
I just think
again,
that
it's not again like I just said. Montreal don't finish top five or top four. They don't get those four players. You can pick 12. We'll be fine. You're
it's
not
hard
going
to
to
say.
miss
It's all
anybody
projections.
in the top. Yeah, no difference between, I would say to you, I don't know, Devoski or Will Smith. Yeah, no difference
I don't
between
know.
like Oliver Moore to Edouard Selly. They are all the most
Shit. Yeah.
similar player. Top second line in NHL.
I've listen. Like, there's still a lot of time to go. In evaluating these players. I've been watching a lot. I've been reading a lot. Like, so I'm not completely set on kind of what my ranking is. Like, not that I'm a professional or anything, but my thinking on that is going to evolve here as more information comes in and everything else. But I'm not prepared to say that. And even when I am prepared to say it, I'm going to, like most people, we're going to be wrong because it's only projection. And the more darts that you throw at the board, the better. Which is why it's important that they get at least one more first round pick. Ideally, not like under the 25 would be good for sure. Because then now you're really throwing a dart at the board. But so listen, like there's no guarantee that they can finish in the top five or the bottom five. And there's only so much that you can do in the situation that Hugo is in right now. There's only so much they can do to influence the outcome of games without
Yeah.
really screwing things up from a culture perspective and putting St. Louis in an impossible position, right?
Yeah, we're going to finish. We're almost, we passed the 1 hour. So winner the Molson Cup January 2023, Samuel Montembeault was the winner over Kirby Doc. Congratulations for the goaltending. I was going to talk about them, but it was about him, but it's too
But
late
he's the
anyway.
guy, coach.
Uh,
If you want to blame anybody for getting us out of the top five, it's his fault. Montembeault.
Yeah, that's the way. Yeah, I'm sorry about this one there. We know Montreal play today again at Edmonton at 12:30, but next week they play Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Chicago, Carolina, Toronto next week. I predict two more W. That's another problem for the Montreal. You're going to beat Chicago and Toronto, like you do all the time. And the key behind that is because every time they win, they push back San Jose behind.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
San Jose, the schedule is so hard, harder to Montreal Canadian. I don't see San Jose past the Montreal Canadian about that. Anyway, so there's a 3 game for next week in NHL for the Montreal Canadiens. So that's what we have, Marco, for next week. We have other subjects. We're going to keep them for next week. I was talking about what you're looking for the rest of the season and how do you consider a success for the Montreal Canadiens. So 2 topics we're going to get next week. Marco for next week. So that's pretty much it.
sounds
But
good.
at the end of the week, we always at the end of the show, we always ask you what you're looking for this week for the Montreal Canadiens. As you said, Chicago, Carolina, and Toronto.
Yeah, well, it should be a good week. Like, by the way, if you've been watching Carolina, KK starting to play not bad. Like, he was voted our what's that award that you give every year? The Muppet Award or whatever the
The Turkey Awards.
Turkey. Yeah, so the 2022 Turkey. Well, his feathers are starting to look a bit brighter, playing a little bit better in Carolina. So always interesting to see how KK will play against Montreal. So we'll look out for that. But this week, right now, Coach, we're getting into the meat of the trade deadline, right? So hopefully Twitter doesn't shut down again and start acting weird, like because this is the time of year that you spend the most on Twitter, trying to follow all the insiders and everything. So please, Elon Musk, don't screw with Twitter during the trade deadline. It's very important to us to stay informed. So should be an exciting
I'm
week,
not
Coach.
worried about
Let's see
Twitter. I'm more
next
worried
week.
about the balloons.
That's another thing too, for sure. Absolutely.
But
Should be a
that's
fun
complete,
week, Coach.
Marco. Another great weeks of the BRUNCH Your Sunday Rendezvous. We'll be back next week for another one, episode number 22. But we want to thank you personally to be with us on this great Sunday. We'll be back in the next couple of minutes. We're going to do the game Montreal Canadiens, who's the Edmonton Oilers, and Connor McDavid is in town. Always an amazing fun to watching Connor McDavid. For sure. So we thanks everybody. Don't forget, guys, to click on the like, subscribe to our Canadian Live Show, and definitely leave us a comments about this episode of the BRUNCH. And Marco, we wish you an amazing, great week. So I can wait to see you next week, next Sunday at 11 o'clock Eastern Time. Have an amazing, great week, Mr. Marco.
No.
Sorry about that.